So 10 years ago, I was finishing my Bachelor of Science, and I had very little idea of where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. I knew that no matter what, it had to involve science, it had to involve anatomy, and hopefully it had to involve evolution. Then I stepped into a university lecture on paleontology, and I was blown away. Like many people around me, I had no idea that the very soil that I walked on in our beautiful country possessed so many hidden treasures. Fossils. Fossils of every kind and every age, from leaves to pollen to fish to mammals and even dinosaurs. Now, little did I know back then that one dinosaur in particular was going to become one of the most important and loved creatures in my life. In 2013, I was introduced to spondylus. What's a what? I know, right? Why can't we just name dinosaurs Kevin or Bob? But spondylus means long vertebra, and the vertebra being the bones that make up our spine. And 200 million years ago, back in the early Jurassic of southern Africa, it wasn't herds of impalas that roamed the landscape, but herds of spondylus. Just imagine. Now, these dinosaurs are about 5 meters long. They walk on 2 legs. They have very long necks and very small heads that would eat plants off of the riverbanks. Those very same riverbanks are the ones that would bury and preserve these dinosaur fossils for curious paleontologists, like myself, to uncover millions of years later. Hundreds of spondylus fossils have been discovered in southern Africa. And this is very rare for dinosaurs, especially dinosaurs as old as these. Now, not only do we have lots of spondylus fossils, but they range in size and ages, which has allowed me to try and study how these wonderful animals grew up, moved, and evolved. We have big ones, adult ones, that weighed almost as much as a large bull. We have young ones that weighed almost as much as a small dog. And we even have baby ones, still in their eggs. So that's right, just like birds and crocodiles do today, dinosaurs laid eggs. Now, you would imagine that an animal that weighed as much as spondylus would lay really, really large eggs. I mean, after all, let's look at ostriches. They weigh about 5 times less than spondylus, and their eggs are huge. So surely spondylus eggs would have to be as large as chicken eggs. That's right. Your standard spondylus hatchling was not much bigger than a chick, and their eggs fit comfortably in the palm of your hand. And we also know, based on some fancy schmancy scientific methods, that the eggs had a softer, leathery eggshells, more similar to those of turtles today. We know that the eggs were laid in large groups, about 34 eggs per clutch. And every year, spondylus mamas would come back to the same site. They'd use their large thumb claws to scratch a hole in the ground and lay their eggs. Now, the fact that we have some of the world's oldest known dinosaur eggs in the ground, not far from here, about a few hundred kilometers just outside of Clarens in the Free State, is already amazing. But you see, these eggs are the gift that keep on giving, because inside them are beautiful, complete, tiny baby dinosaurs. You can see their skull. That's about the size of my thumbnail. Their spine, that's made up of tiny vertebrae, the size of small beads. Their arm bones and leg bones, the size of toothpicks, all curled up as if it had fallen asleep yesterday. Now, because these baby dinosaurs are so small, and we wanted to be able to see every single detail, we decided to turn to the digital world to study them. And the first step to do this was to take a clutch of 7 eggs to Grenoble in France. Now, handy tip. If you want people to give you the side eye at the airport, I highly recommend traveling with a very large, suspicious-looking black suitcase and tell everyone that it's filled with dinosaur eggs. It really helps speed up the security checks. It's great. But we made it to France, and there, on the edge of the snow-tipped mountain of the Alps, is the European Synchrotron Radiation Facility. And this infrastructure is basically the equivalent of a very large, very powerful CT scanner. Now, we use CT scanning a lot in paleontology nowadays. And it allows us to see fossils still in the rock. It allows us to see inside skulls without running the risk of damaging the specimen. And it works in a very similar way to a standard X-ray that you'd get done if you think that you've broken a bone, except that instead of one image, you get a stack of images, cross-section, that put together make up your entire fossil. You can then look at these images on the computer, and the bones will be white, and the rock will be dark gray. And then it's basically a glorified game of paint by numbers. You just color in all of the individual bones in different colors on every single image, and they then get put together, and they show you a 3D digital rendering of what your bones look like. So I reconstructed every single small bone in those dinosaur eggs. And I was able to see every single detail, every ridge, every process, every condyle. And this is something that always blows me away as I'm coloring in my tiny dinosaur bones on the computer. I'm the first person to ever see what they look like. After 200 million years of being in the ground, they're finally being revealed for the very first time. But what I could also see is which bones were not in those eggs. You see vertebrates today, animals today, you, me, your pet dog, your parrot, we don't actually start off with bones. We start off with cartilage. And that cartilage essentially makes up a blueprint of what our skeleton is going to look like. And as we grow and develop in the womb or in the egg, that cartilage gets replaced bit by bone, until eventually we have a fully formed skeleton. And it turns out that a lot of animals today develop these bones, form these bones, in the same order in the skull. They start from the front of the snout to the back of the skull. And what our baby dinosaurs showed us is that 200 million years ago, they were doing the exact same thing. And that allowed us to tell that they were only about 60% through their incubation period when they were buried. So they still had a while to go before hatching. What we also found is two different types of teeth. Tiny teeth, the size of grains of sand. The first type of tooth was very similar to that of other older spondylus. They're flat, they have very broad serrations, and they're perfect for ripping plants off of stems. But the second type of tooth that we found in our baby dinosaurs were much smaller, much simpler, conical. And it turns out that crocodiles and geckos and relatives of dinosaurs alive today, they also do this. So when they're in the egg, they have a very simple set of teeth, small teeth, that they lose while in the egg. Then they develop a second set of teeth, and that's the one that they hatch with. But so this was the first time that this had definitely been found in a dinosaur. Evolution is all about change. It's striving to be better. It's striving to be stronger. But what our baby dinosaurs have taught us is that you don't mess with a good thing. The ancestor to dinosaurs and their relative, crocodiles, birds, turtles, lizards, they figured out how to grow a skeleton at least 250 million years ago. And that pattern, that mechanism, has pretty much remained unchanged since then. And probably since before then, because other animals do the same thing. So let's think about how many billions of animals have developed in the exact same way, and how many billions of animals are going to grow and develop in the exact same way in the future. So these baby dinosaurs have shed light on so much already, from dinosaur growth to nesting to the evolution of animals in general. But that's just the beginning. They still have a lot to teach us, a lot to share. And I, for one, can't wait to crack them open and discover what secrets they've been hiding for 200 million years. Thank you.